Welcome to another weekend here on the platform. My name is Sambo Dasuki. We are now in the last days of 2019, and this is the last edition of the program for the year. Today on the program, after countless acts of disregard for court orders, the federal government finally took a step in the right direction and released former National Security Advisor Sambo Dasuki and convener of Art Revolution Now protests, Omoyele Sowore. The voice of reason prevailed, proving that when voices unite to demand for justice and obedience to the rule of law, then our desired society could one day become a reality. Also, it was a black Christmas for some residents of Borno State as suspected Boko Haram insurgents invaded and killed some persons on Christmas Eve. Sometime last week, residents of Damaturu, the Yobe State capital, were thrown into a state of pandemonium as Boko Haram fighters made a daring attempt to invade the city. These and other attacks, which the army says it repelled, reawakens the debate on how far the war against insurgency is going thus far. And so much happened within the year, and we will talk about a few of them. But before the discussion begins, my column, Catch the Rich at Christmas, will be read to you.
Nothing set the scene for the subject of class and poverty more than the crowd. At its 70th birthday party, former Oyo State Governor Abiola Ajimobi, all toothy with gratitude, invited not only men from the marble perch of society, where you saw a governor, the orderly, and other underlings loomed behind. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, for all his common touch, was a class even apart from the very rich around, a class within a class. Governors came and flourished. The boss of Lagos, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, was unmistakable in his vintage white agbada. Others were Ekete's Dr. Kayode Fayemi, Akeredolu of Ondo, and Dapo Abiodun of Ogun. Ex-Governor Aremo Segun Oshoba, whose men had just rejected Abiodun's Executive Council nominees, also materialized. I wondered if the flow of drinks and chop-chop did not meet throat bombs as one thought about the other across tables. Of course, the presence of cerebral monarch of the West, Oba Lamidi Adeyemi, gave the party some panache. The hall at the University of Ibadan Conference Center was an assemblage of all, the rich and the poor, the weak and the powerful, the professional and the worker, the skilled and skillful, the city fellow and the rural. But no one saw this as a matter of interest until Interior Minister Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola ruffled a few feathers. As one of the discussants of the lecture from the erudite Professor Ayo Olukoto, who also writes a pithy column for The Punch, the former Osun State Governor projected his Marxist face. He said he was no pro-rich or anti-rich, but he was pro-poor. In order to attack the question of poverty, he called for a drastic tax policy to shave off what he saw as the excess and flamboyant wealth of the rich. He wanted a sort of leveling. The rich are too rich, and the poor are too poor. I thought the minister, no poor man himself, although he likes spoiling the society's peacocks, hit something fundamental about Nigeria. Some misunderstood him. He said he wasn't calling for the abolition of wealth. He was not anti-rich. That, I think, was the first time that a man at that high office in such a high-caliber event would be launching such a broadside at the rich. But I think he was looking at something more fundamental than many know. In Nigeria today, we have what I would call a beggar's paradise. Many poor get by not by their income, but by what looks like the mercy of the haves. Everyone who has a little fortune, maybe 50,000 naira, must part up to 1,000 or 2,000 naira to the one who earns 11,000 naira. The one who earns 11,000 naira must give 200 naira one time or the other for the one who cannot afford a meal. It's what Richard Joseph calls the economy of affection. The gateman, the cleaner, the washerman, the cook cannot earn a living wage. They depend on the big man. The wealthy in our society are not like what sociology Thorstein Veblen proclaims when he argued that they turn their excess into building institutions of leisure. Ours create leisure as soap bubble, while they create charities. We party in Dubai and south of France. A middle-class fellow and a millionaire can be neighbors in the United States. It is beneath the millionaire in Nigeria to exchange morning greetings with a neighbor who cannot fly a private jet like him. That's why Aregbesola made a good point. The rich in Nigeria are even lightly taxed. For one, those who are taxed pay little, maybe 15% or 20%. They find ways out of it, even at the figures they push. After Aregbesola made this point, I rose to interrogate his position. I asked, how can we get the money to tax? The rich never declare their money. Barely 10% of taxable income from the very rich fall into the tax bracket. We are billionaire dodgers. I'm talking of trillions of naira. If we cannot catch the rich, how can we tax them? That's the problem today. That's why we cannot give enough money to build infrastructure in hospitals and schools and give pride to the beggar who can tap the environment to prosper. We don't have the infrastructure of capture, so the rich will elude us while they flaunt their takings at us. So, this Christmas, the only way the poor are catching the rich is to beg for money for rice and chicken. The rich, in their subconscious, are saying, catch me if you can.
Public affairs analyst Ambrose Igboke joins me to analyze issues arising. Welcome, Ambrose. It's good to see you after a while.
It's good to be on the platform, elevated once more.
Now, Sambo Dasuki and Omoyele Sowore have been released. Is it thanks or no thanks?
Well, some people say, praise the Lord. And I refuse to say hallelujah. Why? Because the time for the hallelujah chorus had elapsed. I mean, what I always say is that apart from a few of us in the media industry, they actually knew the Sahara reporters and Omoyele Sowore in his days of activism, Unilag, and the June 12th struggle. He was not a relatively known person in Nigeria. But what the federal government has helped to do is to popularize his name and make him so popular. I don't think he was this popular when he contested in the March presidential election.
When he got about 300 something votes.
Now, a lot of people know about him. And I think it was a strategy. You know, these activists, they know how to do this strategy. They want to trend. And the federal government fell into that trap. And he caught the way they were supposed to be. And he was trending. And that is what made him popular. And then for Amnesty International to even elevate him in the position of Nelson Mandela, who were calling, you know, secondary school those days, prisoners of conscience. Yes. You know, that is a big title.
They made him a prisoner of conscience.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, they made him a prisoner of conscience.
Exactly.
He became actually a prisoner of conscience because he did not want to be in prison. He just wanted to rake up a little dust. After losing the election, he had people forget that even in his own campaign, they accused him of fraud. That he didn't know how to calculate money and he didn't account for money.
Exactly.
And suddenly, the attention moved away from the man with clay feet. Now they turned him into some kind of... In fact, worked. I used the word lionize in my column, which word, they borrowed the word when they were talking to Buhari. About releasing him, that you are not lionizing him for nothing.
Yeah,
People should give me credit when it should when it is due.
No, I think he was just he has been idolized, and that's the federal government played into his hands. That was a smart move. I must give it to him because he knew that
it was not even him. It was just the fact that some overzealous men in the security they just decided to to take wrong moves, and it just fell on his lap.
Well, they took the wrong moves, but again, they had what we call in this balance or guy on top. There's somebody who is in charge.
Yes.
And so who was in charge? These things were happening, and the presidency was aware of it. And that's why we say the president cannot be totally exonerated from what has happened.
Of course, because you carry the monkey. If you're on top, you take responsibility for everything. And the point now is that we still have other people. We still have
the Bakare guy.
The Bakare. We still have Zaki. Zaki, understand now, according to the federal government, is in the hands of the man in Kaduna. That is the one who should release him.
Is he bound to the Philistines?
Yes, it's probably a way of pushing the buck and so on. So we need people to be free when they ought to be free. The law is above everybody, and nobody is above the law. And no matter who you are, the beauty about democracy is that we have to abide by the rule of law.
But again, the signs were there. I remember the president, was it last year or 2 years ago, in the National Association, Nigerian Bar Association, the national conference sometime, when he said his hands are tied, that he went ahead to say that when there is a security emergency in the country, that the constitution can be suspended.
You can't suspend the constitution. You use the constitution to prove it. And if you say that there is an emergency, then you have to prove to us that there is an emergency, because what that kind of argument creates is arbitrary.
Exactly.
You load it to yourself, the power to determine what is national security. Because it's all part of this argument, which is spilling over to the new year, but it's hate speech.
But again, you know, the lawyers who were there, who thought that we raised dust, actually clapped. And that's where we saw that. That's where we saw the handwriting of the word. There was going to be a problem.
Remember what Shakespeare said? Said the first thing we do, let's kill the lawyers. You know, lawyers are not always the best people to go to when it comes to justice. They are very good They are very good when it comes to matters of law. But whether they are good as to matters of justice is another thing.
Well, the lawyers, it's Sam that said it, not me. The problem is that, like I told Nigerians, they are too reactionary. We are supposed to be more preventive and proactive.
Yes.
We saw the signs.
Yes.
We saw the signs, even when he was sworn in as a president. President Buhari always said that he cannot work the way he wants to work because of the constitution.
Yes.
And then that bar association thing happened. And then we saw the Gestapo raid on the houses of justices as the judges. Yes. If you have something against them, it's not how to go about it.
You go
and then the next thing, we saw the Onoga issue, the way it was handled.
Yes.
That we knew we were tilting to the precipice.
Yes.
But finally, we now saw this happening again. Yes. I mean, the bizarre thing about Omoyele was that finally, you went to the court. The court, in its magnanimity, granted you 45 to hold this man beyond the constitutionally allowed period to do your investigation, and at the end of the day, you released him, and finally,
I know, it was very clear they wanted a soft landing when they took the matter from DSS to the office of the Attorney General Malami. I knew, and I said it in my column, that
safe,
in a sense they were looking for soft landing and so on. Now, new attacks on the Northeast. You know, we say all the time that, you know, this war on terrorism has become old news.
Yes.
People are dying, people are losing their sleep, people have no homes, people are separated from their families, people are living in IDPs. There is a certain sense that we have lost the war without admitting it.
It's sad that in the Nigeria of 21st century in 2019, and we are wrapping up 2019, we are still talking about an insurgency, I mean, that we thought by now would have been, you know, annihilated. What has happened is, it's more, well, I say, beclouded in mystery. As a commander-in-chief, I don't know why the president has not rejigged his service chiefs by now. If they say you don't change a winning
probably
team,
because we have been saying that he should rejig it. That's why he doesn't want to rejig it.
So who is it making a point to?
Maybe if we keep quiet, he will rejig it.
How can we keep quiet when people are dying? We can't keep quiet Because if you had, they say you don't win, you don't change a winning team. But as far as I'm concerned, these service chiefs are not winning in any way, because the issues have been there. They are due for retirement. Someone like the chief of army staff is due for retirement. He has stayed on. The police chief was changed. We were thinking he will also be changed to rejig this fight. But it's the same old. There's an apathy, even from the rank and file. So we need people that will inject new ideas to be able to fight this. And then everybody has gone. There are issues of logistics.
And rather than the security people to go after the Boko Haram people with all the things they're going after people on plains.
And
Dasuki. And,
you're even talking about now.
And people like Agba, Jalingo, and Bakari, people who are on plains who are doing nothing. Then rather than really go down to the real innards of conspiracy and death, we are clutching at straws.
You're even forgetting something. If not that Nigerians who rose against them, they have introduced the ID card searching, miasma. That Nigerians should be Operation, what do they call it? Operation Identity Card or something.
Yes.
That would be so superfluous, very, very annoying. And so these are the kind, because they have run out of ideas. So they needed to create some sort of activities.
Did you remember that even during the year, the chief of army staff said that they should turn Sambisa Forest into some kind of museum? Who will go there? It won't be a museum of death, but museum for death, because you just go there to get slaughtered.
Well, you don't blame him. He has run out of ideas and he's still there. Maybe he's even begging to go. And they're keeping him there. So he doesn't know what to do. He deserves a retirement to go rest. For this renewed attack, it just shows that we are not winning the war yet, and that we need to, from the budget, remember the president came 3 years ago to ask for, from the SS code account, he was asking for $2 billion. They granted him that. Yeah. He said he bought Toscano.
Well, the thing that he said about the war on terror in the Northeast is that some people are recycling it for their own personal self-gratification.
Are they not aware?
That is a tour of duty. You go there, and it has always happening. It has always been happening in every part. It happened in Niger Delta. Cause a little trouble. Ask for money so that you can use it to quell the money.
There's even a commission created. Northeast Commission has
been created to do that. So
that's more money.
That's more money, than people will start recycling. So they have their own version of the NDDC in Niger Delta there. So they turn the whole war on terror into some kind of racket.
It's a huge racket. It's a huge racket.
So if the racket is on, why would the war come to an end? That's the problem. So we look at the year 2019. How would you assess the year throughout?
Well, the year 2019 is a year I would say I'm disappointed.
Which year were you not disappointed?
No, at least the hope of every citizen of Nigeria is that the new year should bring new hope.
What are you not right? There's one place, they say that hope against hope. Isn't it high time Nigerians decided to be realistic about hope?
Well, because the hope is not anchored on anything. There's no pragmatic and regeneration strategy for Nigeria. The budget is still the same old. That's everything, recurrent expenditure.
So what happens to the budget is that they don't spend anything until towards the end of the year, about 50% of it, and then at the end of the year, they now look for ways to spend the money. You know, organize conference here, organize travels here, organize crisis here, to go and solve.
Crisis
and
is
then
not organized.
You spend the whole money and go to the next year.
But why do they keep doing it? And I keep saying it, they keep doing it because the Nigerian citizens are docile. And when you are docile, no, you are not accountable to the masses, because the masses don't even demand accountability.
Do we even have a masses that is interested in progress? Because it's something for you to have the people, but the people, do they need to be saved? You know, Thoreau said, I've been quoting so much today about all these writers. Thoreau said, when he was writing about the revolution in Europe, in the ferment of Europe in the 19th century,
the Renaissance period.
He said, force them to be free. force the people to be free. How do you force the people to be free? The people don't want to be free. How do you force them to be free?
Who will initiate it?
Who will initiate it? Is it not the same people?
Who will galvanize it?
Ah.
That's the problem we are having. Okay, look at, I was reading sometime today how the allocations to the local governments were published. And people now are aware for a period of like some months now it have been published. And they have been credited directly to the local government accounts.
Yes.
Well, the people are not reacting. They have not gone to their local government secretariat to ask the local government chairman, to their
We
ward
forget
council,
that in most cases,
much
even local government, in many states in the country, local government chairmen don't stay in their local government.
Yes, of
They
course.
stay in the city, they collect the money,
in the
go
state
to
capital.
the city. You go to the city. Some come as far as Lagos to stay,
Some in
spend
Abuja.
the money. Some go to Abuja to spend the money and go back to their local government.
When they
So
start to
when we
collect
say
another
that,
one.
when we say that the solution is to bypass the state government and take the money straight to the local government, we are just scratching the surface. The real problem is that we do not really believe in the rule of law. So when we are accusing Buhari of not abiding by the rule of law and so on, it is also a case that has gone down the ranks in the Nigerian society, where people believe that impunity first and then defend yourself later.
Nobody, no political class will actually run with the rule of law if its citizens do not force them to. Europe, abiding by the, look at what Macron did this year by increasing the cost for fuel.
Yeah.
And then the yellow vest
were all over
the place, and he was talking tough and everything.
Yeah, but now he's not going to hold the town halls about pensions and all of that.
They didn't budge. They forced him down. And even when he was trying to bring peace, they said no. Look at what the students, young ones, are doing in South Korea. Even under the winter and everything, under the cold, they were there. How many Nigerians used to
Bolivia? What of Bolivia?
Different places, because then some other countries.
Look at Hong Kong.
Money.
Look at Hong Kong.
Of course, that's what Hong Kong.
The point, what we're having leaderless protests. So you don't really know who to hold responsible. That itself is what is going on. Maybe that's what Sowore could not do. Sowore was looking at a society that is difficult to even galvanize.
I mean, Gani said it's one of his last statements before he gave up. Nigerians are difficult people to lead. Because you organize, you are pitying the masses, and they are the same people who think you are a fool. No, they would think you are an idiot.
Yeah, because there are two things that make it difficult for Nigeria to be galvanized. And there are two. They are ethnicity and
religion.
And this ethnicity and religion.
And then poverty.
So no. Poverty is not the issue. When they use ethnicity and religion to cover poverty, because the real problem with human nature is not as much of poverty as in sentiment. A man can be poor, but when you attack his religion and forget his poverty, attack his tribe, he forgets his poverty. He links with you. That's what's happening. That's what has happened in Nigeria for a long time. That's why they say democracy is actually an ideology of consensus, in which people will belong to a particular set of religion or set of ethnicity, so that there is nothing that divides you. So you now focus on the real problem. But we don't have that. We have matters that can send us to different ways, and then we forget.
And then bring us together to fight each other.
Forget the real problems. Right? The elite, the Hausa elite, the Yoruba elite, they meet together and say, how much do we share? Then when they leave, after filling their stomachs and sending their children to go and marry in Dubai, now they start saying that the other man is a fool, is because of his religion, whereas they are already well fed.
Well, that is the thing they do every year, and
that's
then
what we do.
Fall for it.
That is the problem with Nigeria. So if you know that this is the problem with Nigeria, then we know where to start.
So are we not saying we are hopeless?
Well, I'm not saying so. We're going to a new year. On that note, I thank you very much for joining me on this show. Try to come around often. I know that you're always running away. But in the new year, we'll see more often.
Yeah, I will.
Yes.
I will.
Just before the program ends, this is my poem in honor of Leah Sharibu. Leah, do you remember Christmas in those days and how Mama's grill embered? How was your palate? How was your plate? Rate the taste and the date. no matter how today's stale, invoke the stove and delicacy of when the Yuletide made you smile, and yell in that lone dungeon, Merry Christmas. Thank you for watching and being part of the program this year. You can catch up with my published column on www.samomashe.com. Also follow me on Twitter. My handle is @SamOmashe. And until next year, be good.